So, picture this, a world-famous novelist. What's the first thing that pops into your head? Maybe a chaotic genius, right? Someone fueled by late nights, random bursts of inspiration. Well, today, we're going to dive into the world of a true literary legend, Haruki Murakami, and uncover how his incredible creativity is powered by something you'd never expect, a life of intense, almost shockingly rigid discipline.
And boom, right there, that quote is the key to his entire process: mesmerism. Self-hypnosis through just doing the same thing over and over again. It sounds kind of weird, right? I mean, how could a strict, unchanging routine possibly be the source for his surreal, imaginative worlds? But for Murakami, this isn't a cage for his creativity. It's the very tool he uses to set it free.
Let's really unpack this because it's a huge contrast. On the left, you've got the romantic myth of the artist, the tortured soul waiting around for the muse to strike. But the Murakami reality, it could not be more different. It's not about waiting for inspiration at all. It's about building the physical and mental stamina to just show up and do the work day in and day out until inspiration doesn't have a choice but to appear.
Now here's the thing that's really fascinating. Murakami wasn't always this way. This legendary routine of his wasn't some philosophical choice he made from day one. Nope. It was born out of pure necessity, from a life that was honestly kind of spiraling out of control.
Yeah, before he was a full-time professional writer, he was running a small business. I want you to just imagine that for a second. Running a jazz club in Tokyo, surrounded by music, people, smoke, working these super late hours, and only then, after all of that, would he go home and try to squeeze in some writing at his kitchen table. I mean, he was basically running on empty.
And this number says it all, 60 cigarettes a day. That is 3 packs. It's just a staggering number that paints a really vivid picture of the stress and the lifestyle he was caught up in. This wasn't just a habit, it was a constant, and man, it was taking a serious toll.
And, his body was basically screaming at him. The consequences were becoming impossible to ignore. He was gaining weight fast, his fingers were literally stained yellow, and he even says that his whole body just reeked of smoke. He hit a wall and had this really simple, powerful thought. If he wanted to have a long career, a long life as a novelist, something had to change, like drastically.
So that realization, it was the spark. It kicked off one of the most incredible transformations you'll ever hear about in the literary world. He didn't just tweak a few bad habits, he completely re-engineered his entire existence so that it could serve his writing.
So in 1981, he goes all in, decides, that's it, I'm a professional writer now. And look at how decisive he was. He and his wife closed the bar. I mean, that was their livelihood. They packed up and moved out of the city to a much quieter, rural area. And then he began, step by step, to rebuild his entire daily life from the ground up.
So he just quits. The 60-a-day smoking habit, gone. He cut way back on drinking, totally changed his diet to mostly vegetables and fish. And then there's the big one. He started running every single day. This wasn't just about getting healthy. This was about building a brand new foundation for a life dedicated to the marathon that is writing.
All right, so we get the why now, right? He had to change. But what did that change actually look like? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of the legendary routine he created, the super precise, absolutely non-negotiable schedule he follows when he's deep in novel writing mode.
And here it is, the daily grind. It starts at an insane 4 a.m. He wakes up and writes for 5 to 6 hours straight before the world is even thinking about breakfast. Then around 10 a.m., he's done writing, so he goes for a 10K run or a long swim. The afternoon is for boring stuff. Errands, reading, listening to his huge record collection. And then bedtime is at 9 p.m. every single day, no exceptions.
And that's the part that's so hard to wrap your head around, right? Without variation. He said that this schedule doesn't really leave room for a social life, and that, yeah, people get offended when he keeps turning down invitations. But he made a choice. He decided that his most important relationship was with his readers, and his #1 priority was making sure each new book was even better than the last.
Okay, so let's go back to that word he used at the beginning, mesmerism. What is he actually talking about when he says he mesmerizes himself? This is where the routine goes way beyond simple time management and becomes this really profound creative tool.
Yeah, this pretty much nails it. It's a form of self-hypnosis. By making his daily actions so automatic and unchanging, he basically frees up his mind. The routine becomes this ritual, almost like a mantra, that lets him bypass his conscious, critical brain and just sink down into the deeper, more chaotic, more creative parts of his mind where all those incredible stories are waiting.
And I love this quote because it paints such a powerful picture. For him, creativity isn't some gift that just falls out of the sky. No, it's a source hidden deep, deep underground. And the only way to get to it is through hard, consistent, daily work. The routine. That's his chisel.
And all of this brings us to the final and honestly maybe the most important piece of the whole puzzle, the synthesis. This inseparable link he sees between the strength of his body, the focus of his mind, and the quality of his actual work. This quote, this is everything right here. He argues that to write a long novel, to stay in that deep state of focus for 6 months or even a year, you need a tremendous amount of physical power. You can't just be this delicate, artsy person. You've got to be tough as nails, too. And he doesn't stop there. He literally compares writing a novel to survival training or running a marathon. And it makes so much sense, right? Both require you to show up every single day, to push through being tired, to push through self-doubt, and just maintain a steady pace for a very, very long time. The physical training isn't separate from the writing. It's what makes the writing possible.
And this book cover, Novelist as a Vocation, I mean, it just says it all, doesn't it? For Haruki Murakami, this routine isn't just a lifestyle choice or some productivity hack. It's the professional foundation of his entire career. It's how he does his job. It is his vocation.
So I guess we end on this big question, right? We're so often taught to think of discipline as the enemy of creativity, that it'll just box you in. But Murakami's entire life and all of his work just completely challenge that idea. He shows us that for some people, a rigid structure isn't a cage at all. It's the key that unlocks the deepest and wildest parts of the imagination. So the question is, what could it unlock for you?